speech.
Very good morning. I'm going to skip mentioning again all the names that have been mentioned 3 times. It's a very Malaysian thing. So I shall start by saying a very good morning to all our distinguished guests and to all the wonderful men and women in this room who have decided to sacrifice their Saturday to be part of this future youth town hall. It's a wonderful opportunity for Taylor's University to collaborate with the Higher Education Association of Malaysia to organize this future youth town hall. I won't talk so much about the budget. I think there's enough ammunition after this to talk to you about that. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking to you about this very important project that we are working on at this university. You see, in 2015, the Harvard Business Review published a very interesting finding. And it said that working for an organization that has a purpose ranked number 2 as a reason for one to work for a company. And this, they asked a lot of people working in organizations, why do you work here? Is it for the salary? Is it for the benefits? Is it for promotion? Is it for career growth? Is it because, it has a nice office with great food? And very interestingly, working for an organization that has a greater purpose ranked number 2. Of course, number 1 was salary, right? No money, then how? Bolui. But it ranked higher than promotion, it ranked higher than benefits. It was quite interesting. 2 months later, the Harvard Business Review ran another survey which highlighted that employees were willing to take a 15% pay cut to leave a company and go to another company that had greater meaning and that worked for a greater purpose. This was 2015, ladies and gentlemen. Then we had COVID from 2020 to about 2022. And one of the things companies faced after COVID was this phenomenon initially reported in the US and in Europe, but now prevalent all over the world. This phenomenon where people woke up after COVID and say, heck it, I had enough working 8 hours a day, working for this company. The money is just does not make it worth spending the kind of effort that I put in. So the phenomenon of the Great Resignation or the Great Quit movement is what companies faced after COVID in 2022, 2023. In fact, it's still continuing, where companies are crying out, where did all my staff that used to work for me, where are they? We've heard about the gig economy, about young people being uninterested in permanent jobs and more interested in gig roles. We've heard about 50% of Malaysians after Form 5 don't want to study further. 50%. Depends. Someone said it was 60% last year. But I think the average is about 50%. So there is this movement among the youth as well to say, why do I go to the university if they're just going to cram me with knowledge, give me a piece of paper, and at the end of the day, I struggle to get a job or even to have a meaningful and happy life? It's interesting. And it's ironic that I, working in a university, can say that. But the reality today is that the way universities continue to run their programs and serve the purpose of credentialing young people and sending them into the workforce, and then in the workforce, they just quit. So we know that this was predicted by the Institute of the Future way back in 2013. 10 years ago, the Institute of the Future predicted that you will retire with an average of 19 different jobs. If you ask your father or your grandfather, they will tell you they probably had 2, 3, maybe 4 jobs. But this is a generation that will retire with an average of 19 different jobs in different possible locations and in very likely different sectors. So the guy who studied accounting is unlikely to be working for Price Waterhouse or an accounting firm. And the guy who studied medicine may not even want to be a practicing doctor. Anyone in the crowd? There you are. And the guy who studied law will probably never meet a judge in court. It's the reality of the youth today. So what is very interesting based on the research that we did is that young people coming out, yes, they want a job. Yes, money is important. But I think we are looking at a Generation Z, and perhaps after them, Generation Alpha, that is looking for greater purpose and meaning in what they are doing. And if education is all about cramming knowledge and getting a job, young people are saying, maybe I'll just study from YouTube. Or maybe I'll just study from, the experience of just working in different jobs. So, ladies and gentlemen, this brought us to this question. So what's the university for? What role will we play in the lives of young people? And that's when we realized that as all the universities in the world are playing this game of ranking and trying to be the best in the world, that maybe this university could focus on trying to be the best university for the world. Because by being the best university for the world, we align our purpose with the aspirations of young people like you who are saying, all right, I can learn all this crap, but how does this make a difference to me and to the people around the world? Every research we did, whether it was looking at Deloitte study or Ernst & Young study or Pearson study, showed us about the emergence of a purpose-driven generation. You are a purpose-driven generation. You are a generation that's far more affected and upset when the rivers are polluted, when energy production is not clean, when there's contamination in food, when there is war and people get tortured. Perhaps my generation or the generation before me, orang Melayu kata dah lali, we're probably immune to bad news or to the atrocities around the world. But the research shows that your generation is a generation that wants to make a difference, that wants to work for companies that are not just making money, but making a difference in the lives of people. And so, this university has decided to be a purpose-driven university. And to do that, we have established 13 impact laboratories. So these impact laboratories are made up of people from multiple disciplines. So let me give you an example. We have an impact lab on poverty eradication. And it has lecturers from business, it has doctors, it has pharmacists, it has economists, it has engineers, all trying to figure out projects that can eradicate poverty. And similarly, we have a lab called Education for All, food security, clean technology, mental health and well-being. So we have reorganized this university so that the 600, 700 odd academic staff don't just belong to a faculty of engineering or a faculty of medicine, but belong to a group that's trying to solve a real world problem and a group that's trying to carry out a purpose. So let me give you how this is going to change education. How many of you are architecture students? Anyone? Or were architecture students? Right. So you see, when you study architecture, the first thing you do in semester 1 is you learn to build structures. And usually you use sticks. You use small pieces of wood, and you learn how to build a house. You learn how to build structures that are able to stand, of course, and structures that are sustainable. And so why are universities teaching young people to build structures in laboratories and studios? And so what we now do is we go out into the community, we go to parks and public places, work with local councils and residents, and we build structures using bamboo in the community. Here's a classic example of how we can change the way we educate before, which is teach the theory and some lab or studio-based work, and take learning out into the real world and solve real problems. In our School of Education, instead of just teaching people how to become good teachers, our students in the School of Education now spend time teaching students from the PPR flats or even different communities who have reading disabilities to read. And after 6 months, these students saw an improvement in reading ability of young standard 1, 2, 3 kids. In Malay, the improvement was 67% in 6 months. And in English, it was 74% improvement. If our children, if people like you can come to universities, and in those universities don't just study or don't just get degrees, but what you do allows you to change and make an impact in the world, then your education becomes worthwhile. It becomes worth it. And you leave the university no longer as just people going out there to look for a job and survive, but you leave this university with the belief that every one of you can go out there and make our community, our country, and the world better. And that's purpose-driven learning. Taking learning outside the classroom, into the communities, immersing our students among the poor, among the downtrodden, among the people who have not got the same things that you have, and allowing them to have a better life because you came up with the idea to change their lives. And we think that more and more universities, because universities have what? In Malaysia, universities have 1.1 million students. Private universities about 500,000, public universities about 550, 600,000 students. What if we harness the power of these 1.1 million and start telling them it's not good enough to study and get a degree? Your degree must have of value to the people out there that don't have the benefits you have, that don't get the privileges you've had. And I think if we tried doing that, we produce an empowered generation, a generation of young people who will not be like their fathers or grandfathers, pardon me if I'm upsetting anyone, who stood back and watched because they were more keen on making sure they had a good life and a good life for you. So you have a good life because we worked hard. Your parents worked hard for you. But don't take that life granted. So I leave you with these thoughts that perhaps in line with the future town hall, when we talk about sustainable development, when we talk about sustainability, you too can, as part of your education, get out of the classroom into the world. And so by integrating your projects in the classroom or in your course, inside the community, I think we will produce an empowered generation. So, enjoy the future Youth Town Hall. Participate actively. Let your voice be heard, even though it's not comfortable, what you may have to say. But I think this is your moment. I didn't tell you this one other thing. Generation Z, by I think the expectation is 2030, will become the largest generation in the world. There'll be 2.5 billion of you. And that's how powerful this generation is, right? There'll be 2.5 billion people thinking, acting, and talking like you. And so people like us have no choice but to listen, right, to people like you. So take advantage and talk. Thank you very much and have a great Saturday.
Thank you, Professor, for the speech. As we continue, a token of appreciation will be given to our distinguished speakers, to our distinguished partners and speakers. We would first like to proceed with the presentation of souvenirs to the collaborating partners, and we invite Mr. Oi Zahau and Ms. Kalin Wong to come forward to present the souvenirs to our collaborating partners. First, we welcome Taylor's University.
Next, we welcome the Association of Malaysian Economics Undergraduates, AMEU.
Next, we welcome WWF Malaysia.
Next, we welcome Malaysian Youth Delegations, MYD.
And lastly, we welcome Youth Beyond Boundaries.
Thank you, Mr. Uy and Kalin and our collaborating partners. We shall now have a group photo with all of our guests and participants. We invite all participants to come to the middle for our group photo.
Ni.
We request that all participants to come closer to the middle for our group photo session.
Ladies and gentlemen, the event continues with our first town hall session, the Sustainability Town Hall. Here I invite Dato' Leong Kin Moon, Mrs. Pam Lee Wen Ai, and Miss A.B. Lim to please be seated at the front. As we proceed to our town hall session, I will be passing this session to our moderator, Mr. Winston Lee. Mr. Winston is HEA's Policy Department Director of the Continuous Professional Development Division. Without further ado, the floor is yours.
Mic test 1, 2, 3. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm the moderator for today's session. My name is Vincent Lee. So, Sustainability Town Hall, Youth Revolution for a Sustainable Malaysia. That's the theme for today's Town Hall. Just give me 2 minutes to present my short speech. Let me begin today's gathering with a thought that often weighs heavily on my mind. In a recent year, we have witnessed the alarming pace of nature destructions, with the haze from Indonesia, deforestation, burning of fossil fuels. All this have been contaminated our Mother Earth. And it has profound impact on our planet. Sustainability, to me, is a promise we must make to our youth. It's a commitment to leave them a planet that is not just habitable, but thriving. It is about ensuring that they can experience the beauty of untouched forests, swim in clean oceans, and breathe fresh air without a second thought. And I believe our youth is up on pars. We have talent in Malaysia to bring our most beloved country, Malaysia, to transition to clean energies. Our panels today will touch on green energies, will touch on how youth can make a difference, as well as the many misconceptions about ESG. Now, with that being said, let me introduce the panelists today who are on the spot. Together with us today, we have Ms. Adeline, CEO and founder of Purpose Plastics. Secondly, we have our Dato' Leong Kin Moon, President of Malaysia Biomass Industry Confederation. And thirdly, we have Mrs. Pam Lee, who is a sustainable professional expert and also a founder of her own business. Welcome, Mrs. Pam. Now, without further ado, let me invite the first speaker to present her presentations. We have Mrs. Pam Lee, who will present the top 3 misconceptions of ESG. Mrs. Pam, the floor is yours. So this is the slide presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, especially the youth. I was inspired by Dr. Pradeep just now, Professor Pradeep, and I'm going to introduce myself as a former accountant who no longer practices accounting. So I've been in corporate Malaysia, or an accounting firm, for many, many years. I was a former partner, but 3 years ago, I went into sustainability as a sustainability services partner at BDO. And thereafter, my life has changed, and now I'm a change animal. I'm no longer an accountant, but I am in this sustainability or ESG space. And today, I'm very happy to be here because I see this as an interaction between corporate Malaysia and all of you youths, right? And I'm going to share some of the key takeaways that I found from corporate Malaysia, and I'm just going to share this with all the interesting people here. Top 3 misconceptions about ESG. So first, I have a feeling that this won't work. Help. Okay. So, first question. Why did Thanos slaughter half of the universe population? And I'm sure all of you know Thanos. Thanos is the villain in Infinity War Avengers, right? So I think most of you who have got this correct. Next slide. So Thanos had a noble mission. Thanos believed that if the population of the universe continues to grow unchecked, eventually resources will run out and everybody will face a painful and slow death. So he decided to do the noble thing to kill half of the population so that the other half can have a better life. So arguably, I think that his mission is interesting, but he did it the extreme way. So some of the misconceptions of ESG, the first thing, a lot of people tell me ESG is fluff. At the moment, it is hot topic. After a while, dust will settle and everyone will forget about it, right? So it's kind of like the house is burning, but we are all partying. Paris Agreement. I want to draw our attention to the Paris Agreement because this Paris Agreement, 196 countries have come to sign this agreement, and Malaysia is one of them. What is this Paris Agreement? It is a commitment for all the countries to try to limit the delta, the increase of temperature to 2 degrees, well below 2 degrees, the delta below 2 degrees, preferably, if can, 1.5 degrees as compared to pre-industrial temperature. Right? And Malaysia is a signatory of the Paris Agreement, and it promises to reduce its greenhouse gas by 45% by 2030 relative to the 2005 levels. So this is Malaysia's commitment. And recently, we saw a lot of roadmaps being rolled out. Right? Yesterday was the budget. A month ago, the Economy Minister Rafizi rolled out the National Energy Transition Roadmap for Malaysia. And this is the strongest signal of Malaysia's commitment to net zero 2050. Besides the national energy transition, there are also other roadmaps that are rolled out by the country. The IESG framework was rolled out for the manufacturing industry, the industry by MITI just earlier this month. The hydrogen roadmap was also rolled out by MOSTI on the 5th of October 2023, and that is last week. So, and there are many more, as you can see on the slide, many more roadmaps that are going to be rolled out, and these are all related to ESG. When it comes to ESG, so many people are involved. Rafizi, the MOF, Anwar, you name it, Zahid, all the ministers are in there. And there's Petronas, there's TMB, and there's MGTC, Sarawak, Sabah, everyone is involved. So, I'm sure ESG is fluff, right? Also, there's a slew of ESG regulatory regulations that are already in place in Malaysia. I'll name 3 of these. Well, the first one is Bursa. So Bursa has already mandatory sustainability reporting requirements in place for public listed companies. And this is for Malaysia. And it recently also included climate reporting. Climate reporting is made mandatory from 2025 onwards for all public listed companies that are listed on the main market. For those who are not listed on the main market but are listed on the ACE market, what is compulsory for climate reporting is a low transition roadmap. All the ACE market companies will need to include a low transition roadmap or plan in their annual report. The second one is Bank Negara. Bank Negara has issued notably these 3 documents or policies. The first one is climate change principle-based taxonomy. This seems like a mouthful, but what it means is, behind the scenes, when you borrow from the bank actually already classify whether you are green, you are orange, or you are red. Green means you are climate friendly. Orange means you are don't know whether you are climate friendly or not, in between. And the last one is red. Red means prohibited, dirty, cannot lend to you. But so far, they've just done the classification. All the banks have submitted to Bank Negara the information only. They still lend. They have not stopped lending to the red. They just classify and report to Bank Negara only. The second one is the climate risk management and scenario analysis. Wow, very chunky. What is this? Well, all the banks are grappling with this because this is made mandatory and all the banks need to do climate risk management, scenario analysis, and stress testing. Let's leave that to the financial institutions. And the last one is value-based intermediary. Actually, this is the ESG, the Islamic finance version of ESG, value-based intermediary. But people seldom talk about it because maybe it's not compulsory and it's very value-based, active-based, and it's run by the Islamic finance community or the Islamic banks and institutions. But there are a lot of resources from this value-based intermediary. Securities Commission. Securities Commission also has included sustainability in its MCCG, the Malaysian Code of Corporate Governance 2021. A lot of obligations for sustainability. And as they've also launched another taxonomy. So this is a different taxonomy than the Bank Negara taxonomy, right? The Securities Commission taxonomy is related to investments. Non-banks. So if you have an investment, this investment product, this unit trust product, is it green or is it orange or is it red? So they have also come out with a taxonomy, or we call it dictionary, a dictionary to see whether you are climate friendly, you are meh, or you are prohibited. Okay, the next misconception is this. A lot of people say ESG for the big companies, nothing to do with me, right? This is the most common misconception that when I talk about ESG, they'll say, ESG doesn't apply to me, you know, or unless, of course, if you live in Shah Alam, maybe ESG apply to you, you know. Well, in 2021, when things go bad and there was a massive flood, or if you are in KL, you're stuck in a jam and then there's a flash flood. So maybe if you are in the city, okay, ESG applies, climate change applies, right? But let us think about it. When there's a flood, actually it costs the country a lot of money. The 2021 flooding for Shah Alam cost the country 6 billion ringgit in losses. So how many floods can we have? You know, there are many floods in other parts of Malaysia as well, not just in the urban area, but it has disastrous impact. And arguably, it affects everyone. Everyone was affected by the water cut recently in Klang. This is just one of the effects. When climate change comes, then resources become scarce, and water is one of these scarce resources. Also, for SMEs, who previously said, okay, ESG, climate change is for large companies. I'm a small, medium company. I've got nothing to do with ESG. ESG's got nothing to do with me. But wait, do you export to the EU? Because the EU has introduced this carbon border adjustment mechanism. It's called the CBAM. Not the lip balm, but the CBAM. And it affects 57% of Malaysia's total exports. It means if you are exporting iron, steel, aluminium, fertilizer, cement, electricity, or hydrogen to the EU, you must disclose your carbon footprint in your product. If you don't disclose your carbon footprint in your product, they will tax you at the EU borders. So, and SMEs, I think previously they're in the comfort zone and say, okay, we have got a lot of things to do already. COVID, has affected us and all that. But I think sooner or later, this SME reporting for ESG is going to come into place. So the Securities Commission have put this for exposure draft, for comments from the public, the Simplified ESG Disclosure Guide. CM Square means Securities Commission's offshoot. So Malaysia is a trading nation, and it's impossible that SMEs can exclude themselves from ESG and climate change. All right, and the last misconception is that ESG, or all the consultants will earn the money, because ESG is very, very expensive. You can't do ESG without consultants. Is that true? So there are actually a lot of free resources out there. It requires time and effort, not so much of monetary effort, but time, right? So if you have a look at the esghub.my, you can screenshot this one, SME Sustainability Action Guide by the UNGC, Malaysian, Brunei, the BUSA website, BUSA Sustain, the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, the TCFD Hub, the SME Carbon Footprint Calculator. If you are SME, and you're saying, I don't know how to calculate my carbon footprint, what is this scope 1 emission, scope 2 emission, scope 3 emission, can you just go to mgtc.gov.my? There's an automatic calculator for you there, and then you can calculate your carbon footprint already. Okay, so in summary, the top 3 ESG challenges actually arise from these top 3 misconceptions. So corporate Malaysia will say, ESG very, very difficult because there's lack of knowledge. Everyone has this misconception about ESG doesn't apply to me, ESG doesn't affect me, and there's this perception of ESG is expensive when it's actually not. It just requires time and effort, right? And also, there's a lack of talent. There's not many sustainability practitioners out there. There are many accountants out there, but not many who knows how to calculate a carbon footprint. Just an example. So strengthening the linkages between industries, universities, and government institutions is critical to address these 3 KET, the lack of knowledge, the thinking that ESG is very expensive, and the lack of talent, the T. With that, I hand over my presentation. Oh, one last thing. So, do you want to be Thanos? Or do you want to do your small part? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pam, for the presentation. Do we need a Thanos nap to kill the whole populations? That is ethical issues. So I'll leave that food of thought for you guys to think later on. Let me just welcome the next speaker that we have in line, Dr. Leong Kim Moon, to talk on the wealth creation and opportunities for young generations. With this, I welcome Dr. Leong.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much, to Heya for inviting me to share the perspective on green technologies, sustainability. Actually, I've been thinking what should be the right topic, for my presentation this morning. Mainly because every time before I start my presentation, I will start engaging all the audience. What is your preference topic or preferred topics? Yeah, I would like to do an informal survey so that I can actually customize my presentation to suit the best interest of all the audience. Yeah. See, first of all, the organizer actually showed me, a bundle of questions related to sustainability issues. So that is the first choice of question I would like to ask all the participants. Whether you want me to just concentrate on sustainability issues, or secondly, you want me to stick to my topic more on green tech wealth creation opportunities for young Malaysians, where I can guide you the career path for young Malaysians. Yeah. Or thirdly, very important, as the saying goes, no money, no talk. Yeah. And I will guide you where to get money for your green project, green dream, and so on. So we have three choices. Let's work together, okay? Yeah, be more participative. So for those who are interested to listen more on sustainability issues, okay, one person only given one opportunity, okay? Yeah. Sustainability issue, please raise your hand. How many? Well, less than 5 or 4, okay? Yeah. Stick to this topic, green wealth creation for young Malaysians, more to career path opportunity guidance. Okay. Okay. And the last one, no money, no talk. Okay. So it seems like the second topic is given, more reference. Okay. I will concentrate on this. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm also the second, the speaker after Miss Pam Lee. Yeah. I actually graduated from University Technology Malaysia as a surveyor. Yeah, my profession is actually surveyors, property surveyor. I studied property valuation and property management. Graduated from University Technology Malaysia. But however, again, I never practiced as a valuer or property manager. Never. Yeah. In fact, I was the first batch graduate entrepreneurs in Malaysia. Yeah. Being given the chance by the university to be nurtured under the incubator system. So I was the first batch in Malaysia. Yeah. And you know how horrible is the experience? Was the experience? The incubator assigned to me is actually a haunted unit. Ada hantu Jepun, you know. Yeah. So very scary, yeah. And very horrible experience. But it's a good experience to deal with. Yeah, okay? But university have given me, the best memories. Yeah. I'm very grateful to UTM, who actually nurture me, to what I have, what I own today. Yeah, okay? And if you look at my career path, I spent 10 years with the European Union. Yeah, under those, we call it Asia-wide Development Cooperation Programs. Yeah, so I've been well exposed to the environmental project framework. If you talk about climate change, waste management, circular economy. So these are the subjects I've been directly engaged in my career path for the last 20 years. Yeah, okay. And recently, I was very fortunate to be entrusted by Malaysian governments to develop National Biomass Action Plan as a Malaysian consultant. Yeah. For this kind of plan, Malaysian government always like to pick foreign consultants, big names like McKinsey's, yeah, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and so on. Yeah. But as a Malaysian companies, my company set up and to be chosen by Malaysian government to develop our own version of National Biomass Action Plan. Yeah. And the plan will be launched by the Deputy Prime Minister sometime in December. Yeah. That will be another excitement. Yeah, okay? Because only Malaysians, know what is the best choice, economic opportunities for Malaysia. Yeah. At the same time, we also want to tap on international expertise. Yeah. I would like to introduce a concept for all the participants. To achieve excellence in your career path, you always remember one popular concept. Anyone understand what is inbreeding marriage? Okay, inbreeding marriage, is it good or bad? Bad, okay. Remember these keywords. Never practice inbreeding marriage in your career path. Okay, that means you stick to what you learn. Habits later. And you stick to your own social circle. Habits later as well. Okay? You have to broaden your eyesight, your exposure, globally, internationally, and regionally. Yeah. As a Malaysian, I'm actually getting worried for young Malaysian. You know why? Our salary is among the lowest in the region. Yeah. How are we going to compete How are you going to have a better life? With lower salary. I'm going to offer you some solution. You do not need to worry. Yeah, okay? But Malaysian is very, very talented. Yeah. If you can grab the opportunities, yeah. Either you are a graduate, non-graduate, doesn't really matters. Yeah. You should start thinking. You must have the mindset, right strategic thinking. How to earn international foreign exchange. But you live in Malaysia. Bagus tak? You do not need to leave your kampongs, you know. You can earn USD, Singapore dollars, and so on. And that is also linked to our today theme, sustainability career. And I have done that. Yeah, okay? So what is the opportunities? Okay, you have to pay attention to beside my presentation, and also the presentation from this afternoon session, one of the speaker from World Bank. You know why? I give you one opportunity. If you are a Malaysian, you can tap the supply chain from World Bank procurement opportunities. Are you earning USD or Ringgit Malaysia? USD. Yeah, okay? And you do not live to leave Malaysia for this kind of opportunities. And there are plenty of opportunity like this. Plenty. Yeah, okay? Yeah. So, and also thank you for promoting MGDC. That's why I wear MGDC corporate attire, so that I can also promote MGDC. Yeah, okay? And for those who are interested to build a career in the green tech or sustainability industry, you have to look at MGDC annual report, so that you get a very good helicopter view, yeah, on the green tech industry in Malaysia. And Malaysia is very fortunate. We have a lot of natural resources, yeah, okay? And for example, the palm oil industry, yeah. The palm oil industry, we have a lot of this biomass, or I prefer to pronounce as biomass rather than biomass. You prefer to pronounce biomass or biomass? Biomass. You know why I mentioned biomass? Because in Malaysia, we pronounce golden opportunity. How do we pronounce? Emas. So that is the emas opportunity for Malaysians. In the context of circular economy from the palm oil industry. Yeah, okay? Yeah, let's go further. Okay, this is a plan, but my plan cannot compete with Miss Pam Lee just now. She have given a very good example. Give her a big hand, yeah. Okay? You want to understand all these government initiatives, you have to refer to the golden documents. That is our 12th Malaysia plan. And 12 Malaysia Plan have actually highlighted all the sectoral development initiatives where you can spot opportunities. Okay? For example, in our 12 Malaysia Plan, the government have highlighted we want to introduce carbon tax. And if you are in the consultancy industry, you may start preparing this particular homework on carbon tax. That's one example. Okay? And there are many others, development opportunity outlined in 12 Malaysia Plan as well. So that is the golden document for you to refer to, okay? And other plans, or many others are in the pipeline, which will be launched by NRECC and also by Ministry of Plantation and Commodity in the near future, okay? We're also coming up the Climate Change Act, but I just engaged the minister, I think last week during IGEM. So he mentioned it will be launched in another 2 years. Yeah, because it's a consolidation of all the acts. So it doesn't mean that we do not have a climate change act, mean we are not so sustainable. That is not the case. So it's a consolidation act. Yeah? Okay, this is very important, sir. I did it last minute yesterday. Yeah. So this is a mapping of green wealth creation strategies. Yeah. So I list down many professions in the context of Malaysia. And this is not a full list. For me to develop this, I can develop another 20 lists extra from this. So if you're really interested in your green growth careers, your green path, you have to look into all these opportunities. Yeah? Okay? Anyone come from Sarawak? You know, your lovely premier make a very lovely statement last month or last 2 weeks. Yeah? For those who have the hydrogen technology and know-how, which they can produce hydrogen in a very competitive manner please come to Sarawak and talk to the Premier. So if you are talented, you know how to produce hydrogen technology, so that is the emerging technology sources. Yeah, okay. They spark under environmental engineering. Okay? And in the context of sustainability, do you prefer to makan the food with biofertilizer or chemical fertilizer? Bio, yes. So there's huge opportunity for the whole world, especially for Malaysia, to talk about biofertilizer opportunities. I do not want to makan racun, you know, basically. I was scolded by a Chinese professor, China professor, a few years ago when I was presented by the Academy of Science to speak in their forum. So they say, why your palm oil industry have so much chemical fertilizers, you know? Yeah. So that is another issue we should address it, through sustainability-driven, strategies. So biofertilizer is one of the solutions, certainly. Yeah. Talking about animal feed, we import, the corn grain from overseas. 1 year, we imported more than 6 billion ringgit. You say good or bad, we imported 6 billion ringgit corn grain from overseas to feed our ayam. 6 billion, you know. If any talented Malaysia can create this kind of bio-based animal feed, that is a huge opportunity for Malaysian industry, for Malaysia's, green industry. Okay? And the subject I like, green finance, greenhouse gas emission reduction. For those you have a scientific and mathematical mind, please pay attention to master this skill, GHG emission reduction. This is a very highly demanded profession. If you have the talent, okay, you must master this skill, and I can assure you, you'll be well paid. Yeah, I think Miss Pam Lee will agree with me. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So there's many others. Yeah, look at solar industry. Recently, there are so many listed companies, SME, listed in our ACE market, and they actually master in the solar industry. Yeah, okay? And because under our Ministry of Energy, have many different names. Yeah, previously, Mastec, Keta, CASA, KEXA, what right now is NREC. Yeah, so they have the framework to promote the solar industry. Okay? Yeah. So you master all this knowledge. Yeah. Not necessarily you must master all, but at least you must be specialized in 1 or 2 areas. Yeah, okay? Very, very important. Yeah. And you should not just restrict all this opportunity to Malaysia alone. Because when you restrict your opportunity to Malaysia, you are earning, again, ringgit Malaysia. And our currency, again, US dollar, have been dropping, have been depreciating. That is something you have to be sure and have strategic thinking in our mind. Okay? Yeah. And when it comes to all these opportunities also, I would like to brainwash on my side a little bit. Okay? When you talk about business opportunity, okay? If you run a retail shop, who is your customer? Your walk-in customer, isn't it? What is your business model? Business to customers. Am I right? Yeah. In my case, I'm dealing with Malaysia government to prepare the National Biomass Action Plan. What is my business model? Business to government. Okay? Yeah. If you manage to serve big corporate, integrated with the supply chain of multinational corporation, what is your business strategy? Business to global. So to be successful in your career path, you must have strategic thinking to develop your B2C strategy, B2G strategy, okay? And also another one is global market, okay? Very important strategic thinking, okay? All these business models, you can park under this B2C, B2Gs, and B2 globals or internationals, yeah, okay? Tap into the supply chain. Okay, I use the word design your exponential green career. I always like to use the word exponential because that is the word I use to apply in my career path. That's why I abandoned or aborted my own profession 20 years ago. Because I want to achieve exponential growth in my career path development. Okay? And how to achieve this? I presume all of you are intellectuals and knowledge workers. Yeah. You must be able to identify problems. In the context of green tech industry, you identify whatever problems. Yeah. If you can provide a specialized solution to address this problem, that will be your green wealth creation opportunities. And Malaysians are very talented in this. Okay? Yeah. So that is very important, and this is not a conceptual statement. Yeah. You have to practice this. Yeah. And when I talk about develop your know-how, forget about just know-how, Actually, in life, it is more important dealing with know-who rather than know-how. Yeah, okay? Not just apply in Malaysia, Even you deal with Ang Mo. You know what is Ang Mo? Huh? Ang Mo also talk about know-who. Masale also know-who. They have to know you. Yeah. Okay? That's why it is very important for us to present our professional image. We strike a balance in between high-profile manner and low-profile manner. You cannot be too high-profile because you invite jealousy. But you cannot be too low-profile. Nobody know you. Tak kenal langsung. Teruknya. Okay? So you must strike in between. You need to be high-profile when you need to be low-profile and be humble and earn the respect. That's where is your succeed point. Yeah? Yeah. And you see, I use the word government enablers. All of you are youngsters. Yeah. What are the government enablers? Look for your NGOs. Yeah. Apa itu NGOs? Your angel investors. Okay. I use one particular word, in Chinese. It may be a bit weird when I translate into Bahasa or English. But for those who are Chinese educated, you know this word very well. Allow me to say in Chinese first. That is 贵人. How to say 贵人 in Bahasa? You see? That's why I say very weird the word. Orang Maha. Okay? Or in English, you call it expensive man or expensive women. Yeah? Okay. In a simple term, it's a benefactor. Okay? The person who can bring value to us. You must look for your benefactors in your career path. Very, very important. And Malaysian government actually provided many enablers, to nurture, young people, especially young entrepreneurs. Okay? Yeah, so look for your NGOs, your benefactors, your expensive men, orang mahas, so that you remember these words. Okay? Yeah. And very, very important, develop your communication skill set, especially when you attend job interview or any business presentation. If you are lousy in your presentation skill, even though you are the best engineers, sorry about that, you won't get the chance. I've witnessed so many cases. Okay? Build your communication skill and understand communication psychology. Yeah? That's why Kalin Wong studies psychology. Where's Kalin? So she make the right choice. Yeah? Okay? Yeah. And lastly, earn your, you must find a way, to develop sustainability-related skill set. There are plenty. So continuous learning is a key solution. Once you stop learning, you cannot compete with others. Yeah, okay. And eventually, earn your recognition. Recognition is very, very important. Yeah, okay. And you have to plan your career path. 20 to 30 years old, what is the strategy? 30 to 40, what is that? 40 to 50, and 50 and above. Okay? I already achieved my 5 series. Yeah. So I've been through, seen through, the up and down of different business models and different career paths. Yeah. Okay? I will use, Tai Chi? I will use the Tai Chi method. Yeah. For the purpose of wealth creation. So that, in a simple term, it's a 20-80 principle. I use 20% input to achieve 80% output. And that should be the right strategies, so that you do not need to commit the unnecessary resources and you achieve the best result. Okay? Yeah. And is it working? Not working. Okay. So these are some of the sectors. I developed this, from MGDC. Yeah, so these are the areas related to green technology. Is a definition by sectors. So depending on your talent and your interest, energy is a very, very big subject. Yeah, if you can be a professional in the energy sectors, either, is engineers or non-engineering, doesn't really matter. For example, we just passed through our energy efficiency and conservation bill, okay, which will become the act in the near future. So for those who are actually become a registered electrical and energy manager, RIM, you have a good prospect, okay? Yeah. Building sectors, this is related to green building. Transport sector, we have talked about green fuel. For instance, Sarawak, the public transportation is actually powered by hydrogen, okay? And that is the futures, yeah. Wastewaters and waste management is another big subject. Of course, ICT, agriculture I highlighted just now, and also for this forestry, green forestry practice and so on. Yeah, so there are many areas, and this is not the final list, the list can be expanded, okay? Lastly, why the name appears so weird, okay? If you think I make a good presentation, you're welcome to join my Telegram. I just built this Telegram, not long ago. It's mainly because almost every month I'm invited by either association or government bodies or university to share my perspective on the green tech industry, biomass industry. Yeah, okay, and you can reach me with all this email, either MGDC, which I serve as a board members, and one of my company outfit, and also my association, Biomass, and there's my handphone numbers. Thank you very much for your attention. Look forward to have a further discussion during the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Leong, for the speech earlier. It reminds me of no money, no talk to ensure equal opportunities to the greens market. I believe I have a conversation with Shakib earlier on, is that we talk about green markets, green opportunities, as well as business growth. We need to ensure that climate sustainability as well as self-sustainability as we venture into the green markets and green jobs. That's the most important point. Next, I would like to welcome Ms. Abby, the most exciting part to you, to talk about climate change, our generation challenges and opportunities.
Hey, got two mic. Is this yours? Hello. Okay, good morning, everybody. You guys feeling sleepy on a Saturday morning? Thanks, Kelly, for introducing, opening the whole session with enjoying the fruit today. That's such a Malaysian thing. And Zihao for reminding us about the budget. We'll look into it. I just want to do a short recap, and the reason why I stand here today is also to talk about, I was given this topic, the youth revolution for a sustainable Malaysia. And often people will ask me, how do you get into, environmentalism? How do you get into climate activism? And to be honest, it's accidental. I did not plan this. If you look around us, the recent floods in Penang, Hong Kong suffering the worst flood since 1884, and Libya, where the death toll is at 20,000 on their recent floods. We have a lot of wars ongoing right now, but it's always so soft when it comes to climate change disaster, because it's always labeled as natural disaster. It is a natural disaster, but we also have to remember it is a human-induced climate disaster. Every action and every decision that we give have a natural consequences. And I stand here not to instill fear in you, but to encourage you to look at this picture in a circular cycle. Our response to this crisis will define our legacy. And as Professor Pradeep said, the Gen Z will be the largest generation in the world, 2.5 billion. And when he said that, why our generation care about rivers being polluted the most? Why do we care about clean energy the most? Because we're gonna live longer than them. We're the first generation that have to deal with the climate crisis. We are the first generation that have to deal with the climate disasters. And we're the last generation that can do something about it. And I want people to not play the blame game as well. Because how I started with Purpose Plastic was, Professor Pradeep also said that nowadays young people would just go to YouTube and study and learn from it, and that's exactly what I did. I went onto YouTube during the pandemic, and I'm like, there's so much plastic waste piling up in my house. What can I do about it? The first thing I typed was plastic waste to fill oil and gas, to fill. Because my family, we manufacture chemicals, unfortunately. It's petrochemicals, we're in that business. So naturally, in a setting like this, I wanted to take action internally. How can I change the company internally? But being in a family business is a bit hard, lah. And so I took into YouTube as my inspiration. And the first video I saw that really inspired me was 2 Indian teenagers carrying out R&D, turning plastic waste into biofuel in an open backyard with just their DIY tools. They don't have the whole laboratory. They don't have a beaker and all that. It was just things that they found in their house or things that they found in the trash. And I thought to myself, with the privilege that I have, with the influence that I have, I mean, that we don't have to think about, food on the table, shelter on our head. We should be doing more. And that's how Purpose Plastic came about. I started establishing the syngas department in my family's company, and I brought in 2 tons of plastic waste into the factory. And I'm like, I'm gonna turn this into biogas. And guess what? From 2 tons of plastic waste, we only managed to convert it into this much of biofuels, this small cup. Why is that? Segregation of plastic waste in Malaysia is quite horrible, unfortunately. And I'm not blaming consumers. Our waste management system, anyone from waste management here? Our waste management system is flawed. And we're not the only one in Southeast Asia or Asia. How do we deal with this? I can't collectively tell the government to, privatize this, do that. No, but I look internally, like, what can I do with the rest of the plastic waste? Because the problem is contamination. So when we talk about contamination, right, when you choose where to put your trash in the 3 bins, you'll be like, okay, plastic is plastic, paper is paper, general bins is general, like for food waste, blah, blah, blah. But actually, you need to clean your plastic cups before you put it in the plastic bin. If not, that is a general waste already. And the problem is, if everybody cleans their plastic and put it in the plastic bin, but one person doesn't clean and throw the entire kari laksa into that plastic bin, the entire plastic bin, we can't use it anymore. So what the young people, okay, everyone here is young at heart. What can we do about it, right? Sometimes it's quite frustrating. You're like, I'm doing my part, but that person with the kari laksa poured everything in it. So I do feel that frustration, but it's also important to note that if we just think that nothing we do matters, our country is not going to move forward. And having my designatory as Purpose Plastic, I'm very keen on just talking about plastics, but I'm going to make it broader because I think I've changed career paths a lot of times already. I'm heading to that 19 that 19 goal of changing 19 career goal. But it's true on what Professor Pradeep said, that our symbol of success is not just a Mercedes-Benz anymore. I'm okay with using public transport, not plastic, public transport. I'm okay with using Grab. I don't need a BMW or Mercedes-Benz to say that I'm successful now. And the policies that are being drafted and given today, these policies will dictate how we live the next 5 years, next 10 years. And that's why it's important for the young people to actually advocate for policies that works for our future. Not to say criticize it, but evaluate it, look into it. For example, the budget, a lot of talks on EV. Is EV the solution? Is EV not the solution? Where's our energy coming from? What's our energy mix? If we have to charge the car and the electricity to the car is from coal, is that green? Why are we putting so much money on it? Why? So these are the questions that you can ask as a young person. But always, you can be firm but polite. You can be an activist but also not be rude. And that's also one of the misconceptions of climate activists in the world, right? They stick their hand onto the painting, they sleep on the floor, block the traffic. But we can always be productive. See, I prepared a speech here, but I accidentally deleted it, so I'm just gonna tell you about what I did after Purpose Plastics and how I got into politics in a very brief, neutral way. I promise it's not gonna be a drama. So right after Purpose Plastic, and right back to when we only had around 100 milliliters of biofuels. So I had 1.5 tons of plastic waste left in the factory. And my dad was like, take it out, if not, I'll throw it back to the landfill. So for me, it's like, I'm gonna figure out a solution or put it back into landfills. And that's how Purpose Plastic came about. I looked into a more creative avenue where we mix it with other aggregation. So normally, if you want to recycle plastic waste, there's a few ways. There's chemical recycling, there's also upcycling. So I chose upcycling because in my head, I'm like, this has to make money already. If not, this is just a hobby for me. I need to prove this concept to people that being green in a company also makes money. So in Purpose Plastic, we turn the 91% of plastic waste that cannot be recycled into long-term products. So from single-use plastics to long-term products using other aggregation like resin. Cement is not very... so if you guys want to try out, feel free to go on YouTube or something. Like, I encourage you to do that. YouTube is our avenue. I'm gonna say that here. But for some of the solutions like mixing plastic waste and cement, right, we have to be aware because Malaysia is a humid country, and if we build bricks with plastic waste or if we build roads with plastic waste and we have a lot of rain pouring in, we have a lot of floods, all these plastic will turn into microplastic that will seep into our water stream. So I've done a lot of R&D on how we can reuse plastic waste. So if we want to talk about plastics, I can do this for 2 hours, but we're here for the youth revolution for sustainable Malaysia. Okay, reminding myself. So what I did next was very effective because from taking all this plastic waste from recycling companies. So how we collect is we go to all these plastic recycling companies. You guys can go still because there's so much plastic. I'm not gonna be gasu and like try to like keep this information myself. So a lot of plastic recycling companies in Malaysia, they only take 10% of what you give. So the rest of them, they have to pay to dispose it. So what we did was, okay, you can give it to us, and we get paid for taking plastics in. And then we turned it into long-term use mixing it with resin, making it into furniture, making it into other stuff. So these are things that I can share. So what I did was I shared with my colleagues in Thailand, Vietnam that wanted to do the same thing. And also when I got into plastics law, plastics negotiation, working on the plastics treaty in Kenya, we were doing research on the largest slum in Africa called the Kibera slums. And mind you, Kenya as a country has banned single-use plastic since 2017. 2017. And when I found out about that, it completely diminished this thought that the plastic issue is a developed country issue. If a plastic issue is a developed country issue, it's a rich country issue. Why are countries like Kenya placing a ban on it? Why are countries in Kenya suffering from single-use plastic? And why can't countries like Malaysia implement policies like this? For example, not Malaysia, it can be Singapore, it can be Thailand, Southeast Asia. But when I was working in London, they were still talking about how can we ban single-use plastic. And a lot of times when we talk about plastic, this whole cycle goes back to this is a rich people problem. But why did Kenya ban single-use plastic in 2017, kan? People died due to pollution. So where we did our research in the largest slum in Africa, it's in Nairobi. It's called the Kibera slums. That slum is also known as the... Can someone keep track of my time because I can go on? Okay. So it's also known as the flying toilet. So how do slums work, right? Their houses are built from muds. So obviously they don't have a toilet. They poop and pee in a plastic bag, they throw it in their neighbor's roof. That's why it's called the flying toilet. So if you walk there, you better make sure there's nothing falling on you. And what does our poop and pee produce chemically? Methane. With plastic that is not really pure, let's say PP plus some additives plus methane, there's a whole chemical reaction going on. And even though they banned single-use plastic in 2017, the whole slum is filled with single-use plastic. Soil and plastic has already assimilated on their ground. Kids are already playing on all these single-use plastic. Like it's their plastic ball playground. And what happens when kids play in that? They start biting, they start chewing, they start eating, even though it's dried poop and pee, they won't know. It's terrifying. It actually affects their health directly without them even knowing. So this whole intersectionality between climate change and health should really be looked into in a more serious matter. Because climate change affects health, affects lives. And when I went into politics, a lot of people ask me, why do you get into politics? That's the last avenue I would ever get into after I try everything. In my chairmas, I talk about, let's decarbonize the city. And my press secretary was like, do you know people are not gonna understand you? And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. Put your message out. Okay, but I will definitely not use decarbonize. I'll use more layman's term. I'll talk about, Shakib there was giving me he put me aside. He said, Abby, talk about floods, okay? Like relate it to the people, local people. A lot of things that I still have to learn in my road of activism. And when we talk about why is it important that we have to speak out, why is it important for advocacy? Have you guys heard of the PJD link? So PJD link is a highway concessionaire project that was supposed to ease the traffic congestion of people in PJ. But think about it, is building more highways the solution to ease our traffic congestion? How many highways do we have that are heavily trafficked right now? A lot of the solutions right today, not all, it's in the span of 5 years. It's in the span of a very short-term solution. And the people, Okay. And the people, the people of PJ, right? They have already advocated for PJD Link to be cancelled for the last 10 years. It was KIDEX, and then it became PJD Link. But they were not heard. So when I came in and contested, I didn't do much. I just said, we need PJD Link to be scrapped because it does not solve any of our problems. And how many tolls are they going to have? This is going to add a lot of burden to the people. This is going to add pollution. This is going to add a lot of things. So people that advocated for, people that are against PJD Link understood where we came from. But my job was to reach out to people that did not understand why people did not like PJD Link. And this is where your job comes in. So what I learned was, among the very kind people of Bandar Utama, I spoke about it's going to cause air pollution, traffic congestion, blah, blah, blah. But the one that they found incredibly responsive was property valuation. So, but you have to imagine, you have to put themselves in your shoes, You've been paying loan for the past 50 years for this house. Suddenly this highway comes and your property valuation just drops. So for me, right, I felt like I should have just said that, and my job will be so much easier. But I learned that 3 days later, which was eye-opening. But this is part of the advocacy, learning how to put yourself in people's shoes. And the funny thing is, right after the nomination, right after we brought the PJD Link group advocates to come along with us, the Menteri Besar of Selangor announced that, okay, we're going to scrap it. Can you imagine 10 years of them advocating and then me not doing anything but just giving them a platform? Immediately, we're going to scrap it. I'm not saying that it's me, but it's the platform. There are numerous platforms that we can use: non-profit, government, politics. Pick your battles. But if you don't try, you never know which one is good for you. I'm not asking you to try all of it, but I'm pretty sure some of you are already on track. And if you want to go into advocacy, if you want to go into policies, I recommend MIDI. I've worked with a couple of them in a few COPs. I think different people, you guys have a good democratizing of organization. And if you think, the Paris Agreement, all this wordy things is it's too much. Sometimes it's very overwhelming. The first time I went to COP, right, it's like there's loss and damage, there's adaptation mitigation. I have to follow all these negotiations, but I don't know which topic I'm supposed to do. So this is going to be a journey for a lot of you guys. I can see people from 16 or maybe you guys just look young to people that are experienced already. But this does not only encapsulate that only young people do something. I've met a lot of great experienced people that have guided the way. And from Purpose Plastics to my advocacy work with Client Earth, where we're an environmental law charity. So my background is a lawyer also, but I'm not a practicing lawyer. But we use our skills as an ex-accountant, still accountant, doctor, property valuator. See, you can help me in the PJD Link, actually. Show them the numbers. Use your skills, talents, your backgrounds to advocate for things that you care about. It doesn't have to be environment sometimes. And people think that, environmental is just a thing. But sometimes a lot of human rights advocates now are going into environmental advocacy. Why? Because it's all interconnected. And we can't really do this alone. Sometimes when I came back to Malaysia, I personally felt like the systemic issue of being territorial in your own academic and all that is hard to deal with. But just focus on doing your job. okay, I sound like a mom right now, and do the right thing. And I will open the floor for any questions, but I'm going to wrap up very soon. So from Purpose Plastics, I went to plastics law. And how I went to plastics law and the UN climate conference was because I did capacity building and technology transfer for other countries. I did not charge them a single cent at all. And when I was at COP27, the reason why, this is quite important, the reason why I was called on the New York Times panel was not because of me, you know. It was because when I went to Nairobi, I set up a hub there to teach them how to upcycle their plastic waste that is all on the floor. And I'm like, you know what? Take the molds, take everything, do it, and if you earn any profit, just take it. And then they were like, oh, do you need royalties, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, just take it. So from that day onwards, they did really well, better than me, because they're really creative. And that's how a journalist came to them and say like, oh, who started this, you know? So it was from them that said that, you know, this person started this, brought this technology in and taught us, and that's how we get to generate income from our single-use plastic. So sometimes, don't look for, you know, for all these new climate activists, right? Don't look for outside recognition, you know, because that's quite counterproductive. If people ask you to share, make sure you have something to share. Like if I have nothing to share today, I won't even come today. But when I spoke to a few of my colleagues, they're like, Abby, you've been through business, you've been through policy, you've been through, you know, environmental law, you've been through politics in a sustainable way. Okay, I wrap up. Okay, one more minute. So if you wanna chat, I'll be happy to help. I have an email. Actually, you can just follow me on Instagram. I'll reply you. It's Abby.1, Abby with an A-B-E. It's not Abe or Abe. I got that a lot. Like, how do you pronounce your name? I'm not from Kelantan as well. I'm from beautiful Perak. A lot of limestone issues there. See, each of you will have your own climate issues. Let's see, if you're from Kelantan, there's the Nenggiri Dam. If there's the whole, they're building this huge dam that will destroy the entire ecosystem of a forest. If you're from Perak, like me, we have the limestone. If you're from Selangor, let's say PJ, there was the highway problem. So each of you will have different issues, but how you tackle it will be almost the same in a creative way. So I'm going to end this before I get kicked off again, but happy to speak to you guys. If you want, I'll be here the whole day. Thank you so much. And, okay, one last one. Okay. All right, I had the budget here, but I'm not going to talk about the budget. But, okay, last one. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good. You don't have to do things perfectly, but you just have to start doing something. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Abby, for the speech. If you do have career opportunities from Purpose Plastic, do share to me. Right. Dear participants, with this, we end the presentations. So right now, we will go into Q&A sessions. If anyone have any questions, do come to the middle. There's 2 stands, mic stands here, to ask questions to our panels. Right. If there's any questions being asked, do come to the middle. Please proceed. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Lisa. I'm also one of the career transition people. So I'm a psychologist by background, but I now do leadership development for women in corporate Malaysia. But that's just an introduction. My question to you, we do a lot of conversations around multi-generational communication. And Dr. Leong, you talk about how communication skills is very important, right? And especially getting points across. I just want to hear from our panelists today, and I really enjoyed everybody's presentation. I sort of acknowledge that there is a generational differences here. So I want to hear from your point of view In terms of youth revolution and driving a more sustainable Malaysia, cross-generation communication has to happen, right? Our leaders are still of a specific generation and of a specific style of communication, and the upcoming Gen Zs and the millennials communicate a different way. So, in your opinion, what would be the best platform or best way to have a conducive and effective conversation? I know the YB Next ministry has youth representation on their platform, but are there any other ways where people here today can even take part without having to have the visibility already with the ministry? Thank you.
Thank you. So, all the speakers would like to go first. Abby? Right? Abby first. Thank you, Miss Abby.
Hello. Yeah, I believe I spoke about this in length when how can we communicate to multi-generational audiences, right? It's TikTok. For me, I've never used TikTok until the elections, and I've never believed in TikTok until the elections. And it's not because of political mileage or whatever not. It's about sending the message that why is air pollution important? What is PM 2.5? What is haze? How did haze come about? So all these things are things that are very important in today's world, educating ourselves, not just the public. And by doing all these videos, you're also educating yourself. And you don't have to dance, you don't have to sing. Do it at your own style. And if TikTok is not your platform, like how I feel, journals, blogs, social media, it's very accessible right now. This is also the democratization of media in our generation that we can take advantage of. Because back in the experienced generation, do they have democratization of media? No, it's all newspaper. Social media, media platforms online, these are things that we can tackle. And also I would suggest joining local communities, local organizations. So NREC, the Ministry of Environment, is a large segment. You're going to cover a lot of broad policies. You're going to cover a lot of global south, global north, developing countries policies. But what you can do that Malaysia need is localized action, localized policies, organize events, organize, roundtable session. What can I do for Bandar Utama? What can I do for Selayang? So these are how you can start doing something, because the best part and the worst part is nobody is doing this yet, and this is something that we all need.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Abby.
Well, I'll just add quickly. I think I think there's a role for everyone. So if you're not the Abby type, you don't want to come out on social media or out to the open and talk, it's fine. You can be the Pam type who just work in the office and then talk to the sustainability team in the office and volunteer, because all your organizations, whoever you work with, has a sustainability officer or at least has HR, right? When they call for volunteers for tree planting, please volunteer. When they call for a volunteer to organize some activity, please recommend that we visit Abby's factory or something, right?
Okay. So I will offer a strategic solution for these questions. Okay? Listen very carefully. Very innovative and very Malaysian-oriented. Yeah. To ensure your voice are to be heard by the relevant authorities. What is the best way to approach our top leaders to ensure our voice are to be heard? Forget about tackling the minute number 1 or number 2. They are too busy. But I offer a solution for you to engage with our minister, for example, which is good enough. What is the best way to approach our minister? Anyone can answer me? Before I offer my solution. Okay. The solution is, most of the ministers are MP. We only have few senators. Okay? The minister, they have their parliamentary service on Friday and Saturday. you can always pay a courtesy visit to the minister as an MP on Fridays, on Saturday, under the platform as an active NGO. Is it a good solution? And secondly, are all of you, active in LinkedIn? Yes. And do you notice or not, most of the VIPs, the ministers, their LinkedIn account do not have enough likes. Yeah. If you are an active NGO, you start clicking all the like, engaging with the minister. I'm sure we will be given an opportunities, to make appointments. Okay? So I have offered two very unique international methods and Malaysian methods, to ensure your voice are to be heard. And lastly, build an active NGO, and start engaging the relevant ministry and government agencies or departments, because when they have organized whatever national policy, they will adopt an inclusiveness approach to reach out to the community-based organization. If you have an active NGO platform, you are always welcome to attend all the focus group discussion and raise up your expectation accordingly. Thank you.
Ms. Abby?
Actually, I want to suggest, this was something that we had from the Plastics Roundtable. We want to propose a field trip to the landfill. Have you guys been to the landfill? Oh, you have been to the landfill? Oh, you just... So you're one of the type that just not... So how we can actually educate not just students, but people like us, corporates to actually see the detriments of single-use plastic. Okay, this is me being a plastic advocate. But, yeah.
Hi, my name is Amar. I'm from Uni10. My question, a bit long-winded. So, nowadays we're hearing a lot about the word transition being used. Transition from older technology to more sustainable technology, transition in power generation. Uni 10%, so that's mostly my focus. So now my question is, for the most part in this country, when we look at sustainable technology or any form of development in sustainability, it is mostly privatized. So how do we take that and transition it into something that's more publicly available or publicly funded, especially considering now for the most part what we're seeing is mostly privatized. An example is solar panel technology. For the most part, private companies are offering the service. There's nothing from the government or nothing from government-linked companies yet. So how do we make that into something that's more publicly available? Because the way I see it, at least that would make it a lot more widespread. So that would be my question.
Thank you, Amar. Probably you can have Dr. Leong to answer this question regarding energy transition.
That is relevant to my first call earlier on, no money, no talk. Actually, I must congratulate our government, whatever political parties become the governments. So our government have a very good funding ecosystem. Especially technology-driven funding ecosystem. The good news is that our government actually allocate up to 50 million ringgit, 50 million ringgit as a R&D commercialization fund, parked under MOSTI, to address any potential R&D commercialization, to address national interest. 50 million is a lot of money. So if you have a big plan, for instance, turning plastic into biofuel, conceptually may be qualified for that. How to engage a minister? Go to LinkedIn and like his page. You can check how many likes they have. Go and find out. Okay? And secondly, for smaller innovative ideas, MOSTI again provide up to 500,000 to 4 million ringgit for industry organization, NGO, as well as MSME, micro, small and medium enterprise, to tap this kind of fundings from MOSTI. And they have all sort of ideas. Earlier on, they just have a big plan, big call for proposal to talk about animal feed commercialization in Malaysia. And they agreed to park aside 15 million for innovative ideas to commercialize animal feed in the context of Malaysia. So opportunities are everywhere. Okay. If you need more, just belanja me makan only. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Leong. If there's any top up from the speakers? No? Oh yeah, questions?
Test. Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Aili. I'm from WWF Malaysia. I'm a youth, but if I ask myself questions, then it's just a sample size of one. So I figured I'll ask the panel and the rest of the participants here as well. By the way, thank you for Heya for organizing and inviting WWF as a partner. So we were talking a lot about individual contributions, right? Like we talk about planting trees or recycling the proper way, for example. But I also want to ask, WWF has a huge platform, right? How can we empower the PAMs and the ABs, right? Yeah, because like at WWF right now, we talk about behavioral change and environmental stewardship. So that's talking about like change in the long term, right? And not just about doing good ourselves, but also like influencing the people around us. So the question is, how can WWF support the PAMs and ABs to create more PAMs and ABs in the crowd? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Abby, to top up. Okay, we have Miss Pam first, right? Okay.
It's great that WWF are here. They have played WWF is a great platform. They have played a huge role in corporate Malaysia as well. We learn about the Malayan tigers getting less and less in numbers from WWF, and I think corporate Malaysia definitely knows of WWF. There are many initiatives already. How to empower? I think sometimes it goes down to the corporates themselves. They need to come up with more activities. They need to participate. But I think I feel that WWF is already doing a good job, and it needs to be reciprocated by the corporates themselves. I speak for the corporates only. I will let Abby talk about more.
First thing I would say is accessibility. For WWF, such a huge organization, right? Sometimes it feels quite daunting for young students, activists to approach you, and for them to email you or to, well, how do we approach you? How else? Yeah, for them emailing, it's one way to go. But I figured like programs like your festival Alam Sekitar, which is great. I love that because it actually entices you, make them come out and actually be a part of the community and also learn how they can be more proactive to it. Why I say that's very important, because a lot of government programs are very catered to different generational spectrums. So what you're doing is great already, and I think the answers won't be from me, it will be from them. So if any one of you want to talk to WWF right now, this is your platform. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Abby. We have one more question from the floor. Right.
Can I just quickly say?
Okay, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Abby, I hear you. I personally also think when I first came to WWF, I also felt like we were elitist because we have like a lot of conservationists and things like that, and so we talk about very high level stuff. Completely hear you. We will tone it down and also make ourselves more accessible. Come to me for our emails and name cards. I will respond. And also, quick shout out to MGTC for being our long-term collaborator actually, and for always amplifying our voice in working with corporates and non-profits. Thank you.
Thank you, WWF. We have one more question from the floor. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we can go first. You'll be standing over there.
All right, guys, my name is Mirul. Hello, everybody. I'm from the IT industry. So yeah, I got a very similar question has been asked just now, but this is just slightly different. I just want to know, a lot of it that has been presented, if not all, is profit-driven. Well, what happened when all these green efforts are not profitable anymore? What happened when that happened? Should it stop? Because that's the concern. Because when it's not profit-driven, then it doesn't continue anymore. So what's the step? If there's no profit, how do we continue?
Right. Thank you. Very brilliant. Thank you. Perhaps you can have Dato' Leong to touch on that point, because he mentioned about no money, no talk earlier. So probably you can have him to answer questions.
Okay. Okay. I think if I remember correctly, MOSTI do have a special grant up to 500,000 ringgit for social-driven initiative, especially open to community-based organization as well as MSME. So 500,000, I think for a start, is a good case to start with. Yeah. And second solution, again, no money, no talk. Yeah. You can actually tap into the fundings from the European Unions or even APEC for this kind of project, because they have a lot of initiative to fund social-driven or development-driven initiative. Yeah, they are not talking about profit at all, actually. Yeah, okay? So you can visit the website. And for those who are actually, for those who have the first degree, you can actually get a scholarship from the EU as well to advance or master degree under the sponsorship of the EU. So this is great opportunities. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the answers.
Yep. Ms. Abby?
You know, this is something that I always tell some corporates in Europe. I haven't worked in Southeast Asia. That you can't pay your way out of polluting. And this is something that's how we as environmental, legal consultants or lawyers that carry out climate litigation start suing the big corporates. Because the net zero plan that they give, or their transition plan, or their ESG policies, it's all on a voluntary basis. And that is why we are actually developing an international legally binding framework to combat plastic pollution in 2022. Starting 2022 last year in January, we had 2 meetings, but we haven't spoke about plastics policy yet. Because a lot of all these negotiations, they will negotiate what the rules of procedure are first. Who gets more votes? Does the EU get 1 vote or 2 votes? Sometimes if you're in the policy, or if you start going into the UNFCCC line of work, you'll find it very frustrating because it will take very long. So on what happens if the money is not there? Unfortunately, money fuels a lot of projects. We still need money to fuel a lot of this. Okay.
Profit, there's a difference.
Yep. Because even for me, I'm very realistic in the sense that I know that if I don't show profit, it will just look like a hobby to me. And also when we talk about grants, grant application are very complicated. It's a science itself. When back to Kenya again, we were trying to help people to apply for grants, but the people that receive the grants are always huge organizations like WWF, WaterAid, all these, which is not wrong, but it also discounts the fact that all these community organizations don't get these grants because of the whole complicated framework of how to apply for grants. So if there's people here that are giving out grants, do consider how to reach out to local community organization base. And sometimes for them, right, when the grant finishes, that's about it. How do we keep them sustainable? And Think City has been doing a great job. I don't think they're here, but they've been doing a great job reaching out to individuals that are carrying out community action. That is something that you can look into as well. But unfortunately in Southeast Asia, profit is still very important.
Thank you,
This
Ms.
is
Ab.
the hard truth.
Thank you. Yeah,
And
Ms.
talking
Ab.
about, since you mentioned about Think City, I think Think City collaborated with a local producer. Recently, they have a Wang Kalian documentary on the Perlis, biodiversity in Perlis. So I think that one is very interesting. So I think there are a lot of avenues like that. But I think they are non-profits. Some companies are non-profits. They are trusts because their profits are plowed back to reinvest, right? But there are also profit-making companies like Petronas, right? Oil and gas company who have now become the well-diversified company, investing billions into clean energy, mobility, for example. So I'm just raising an example like Petronas. It doesn't mean a company who is making profit in corporate Malaysia, they are evil, Because the biggest investor today in clean energy and in mobility, in all these clean transition is Petronas, and Petronas also funds the Malaysian government. Profits are going back to the nation building.
Not
Thank you, Ms.
all are
Pam.
evil, but some are evil.
Thank you, Ms. Pam, and thank you, Mr. Lee. Next up from Dato.
Next question.
Okay. Right, we can reserve for next question.
All right, thank you. So, hi everyone, my name is Timothy. I'm from YBU Youth Beyond Boundaries from UCSI. Thank you once again, Heya, from inviting us here. So, my question is not, it's relatively less ambitious and complicated. It's more towards the self-empowerment and self-discovery question. So, I would like to ask, right, from people like you guys are already successful in these sectors that you are doing, like to us you are. I would like to ask, when was like, do you have any recommendations for us youth to discover and explore more on ourselves, so that we can be clear on what that we are truly passionate in, that something that we want to hold on dearly onto, and what maybe something that we want to die for? Because I find it actually quite difficult for us to search for something when we are as youth, as still a student, to look for something or a pathway or something that we really love doing, and to be driven to work on it and then work towards something, our goal. So how to be clear in discovering this goal, and how any ways that you would recommend us to drive ourselves towards it? Yeah, thank you.
Perhaps you can pass the question to Miss Abby. But before that, let me also like top up a few. Like, I know you looking for like what I'm interested on, things like that. I think passion is a very important factor. But yeah, just pass to the panels to touch on some of the few points here.
I can't tell you what your path is. If not, I'll make a lot of money already. But what I can give you is, from my personal experience, I also went through this cycle of looking for a purpose, right? How do we know this is something that will sustain our interest for the long term? We don't want to just keep changing paths here and there. And what Professor Pradip said was right, because our generation, we're looking for purpose in life. Monetary is, yes, relevant, but I don't need 100K a month. Like, let's say if I get an offer for 100K a month to work in oil and gas, or contrary to an offer of 10K of working on conservation, for me, I'll take conservation as of now. But that's also because I need to acknowledge that I come from a very privileged background as well. But with the privilege that we all have comes like an immense responsibility. 100 ringgit for me and 100 ringgit for a lot of people might be different. And plastic pollution for me and plastic pollution to other people is different as well. So on how we can look for that purpose is very similar to Professor Pradip and what Dr. Leong has also said. You know, he has, Datuk Leong, not Dr. Leong. So Datuk Leong has given out a comprehensive framework on like what you can do on green technology. I have given on a lot on advocacy, policy, law, and the PAMs in the world, the corporates, can also do their path. So find out whether you are an introvert or extrovert first. Take the 16 personality. Do you work better in the office, or do you work better in the jungle, or like do you like to, you know, go on the ground, find the problem? That will be your first step to identify how you work best. Do you like teamwork? Do you not like teamwork? If you don't like teamwork, maybe research is your team. Wait, research doesn't need a lot of teamwork. Sorry. If you don't like teamwork, or you think you work best, that's another path. But if you prefer to work in teams, then that's another avenue for you. So that'll be the first step I recommend. Then after that, it's a journey to figure things out. Because honestly, if you think if you think I'm successful, I'm still learning every day.
Thank you.
I'm also still learning. And I think don't be too hard on yourself, you know. Don't be too hard on yourself. If you can't find your passion, just follow your parents' expectation on you, you know? It's okay. It's okay to be the doctor, the accountant, the lawyer. Just start, and who knows? Someone gives you the opportunity later in life. Like 10 years as an accountant, then only I have the opportunity to go into green, you know?
Sorry, Dato, let me speak. Yeah. Okay. Maybe you can invite Dato to speak, but before that, Dato, I want to ask you, how do you discover yourself? Like, how do you find your passion in biomass? And second is like, how do you reach that Dato-ship title? If you could share to us the successful stories of yours. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, before that, let me answer his question. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, I would like to share two young participants today. Yeah. Okay. I think it's very important, to broaden your social circles. Yeah. I personally, when I was young, 30 years ago, I'm still young. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. I like to attend seminars, actually. Yeah. And because in Malaysia, we have a privilege, as a participant, you can mingle around freely with the speakers. In Hong Kong, you are not allowed to. Yes, that's why I hate to attend seminars in Hong Kong, because I block the access to approach the speakers. But for Malaysia, you can approach the speaker freely. And every time you attend seminars, you get two privileged access: your knowledge access and also your know-who access. That is very important. And being youngsters, it is okay to make mistake. Yeah, nobody will blame you for making any mistake. I was quoted by my vice chancellor from the University Technology in Malaysia. Yeah, I'm still maintaining my good friendship with him. You know what he highlighted to me? Leong, you are the only university student who have the guts to walk into the room of the vice chancellor. I'm the only one out of 30,000 students in University Technology in Malaysia. Opportunity to form a joint venture company with the university during my early days. Yeah, so that's very important. Yeah, seminars, and also youngster like all of you need to attend, need to participate in a highly recognized platform. Yeah, not working. Yeah, highly recognized platform. Yeah, you have to observe whether the office bearers they share the same passion. If they share the same passion, by all means, you commit yourself, because it's the best platform that build up your leadership skill, your communication skill, and also your connectivity with the industry stakeholders as well as government stakeholders. Very important. Yeah. Okay. Second question, your question. I think I have done a lot of social work in the past. Yeah. Okay. And I must alert everyone. When you do charity work, make sure in your mind, never ask for good return. Make sure. Okay? Because when you ask for good return in your mind, I can ensure your God will not reward you. I can ensure that. Yeah. Okay? So you must have a general mindset when you want to help people. When you help more people, I'm sure you will get more reward and merits from the God. I can assure you that. And that's where you can generate the right energy, right access to the right wealth. That is very, very important. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Leong. That's a very parental advice. My mom's giving me that advice as well. But yeah, participants, due to time running out, we can only accommodate one last question.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. Give two, give two.
Okay, never mind. Let's give two. Yep, two. Yeah, can.
I think it's fated by God. Okay. So hi. Give me a second. So I'm Alexis. So I'm currently 20 and I'm studying diploma in mass communication. So I think previously there's been. I'm just gonna take this. So previously it was stated by Ms. Abby that yes, firstly, plastics are pretty screwed in Malaysia when it comes to recycling. For example, even the plastic caps and the plastic bottles, they are not supposed to be recycled together, But people do it anyways. They don't wash, they don't recycle, because there's no separation, there's no infrastructure either. Even single-use plastics, when they're brought into a recycling center, they're immediately thrown out. Only very specific places only accommodate. And it's like maybe once a month they take them in. From a perspective of someone here, okay, it was mentioned, yes, that it's wonderful that we could take our Saturday mornings out here, you know, to come to this event. But many people are not privileged to be able to do that. For example, a law student in Batu Lancang who has to work to afford his foundation, let alone his degree. For a University Malaya student who has to study 4 days a week, and the other 3 days she has to work a retail job to survive. Or for someone who cannot afford education altogether. Someone, for example, in Bukit Bintang, where they're living in houses that unfortunately, like Hong Kong, are stacked on top of each other. They're built level by level. And they have to worry about sustaining their family, whatever means necessary. It was mentioned previously that everyone from any background should be able to do their little part. I want to ask, what can people in this position who can have very little on their mind to think of anything else but their survival and their future, how can they think about sustainable development relating to youth when they have so much to worry about already?
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Habib?
Thank you for that question. Looking at, hearing this gives me hope that you're all well aware of what's happening. This is a very similar context on how the argument between who grabs the responsibility, the developing countries or the developed countries, global south or global north. Why are there huge focus on the loss and damage tax? Because we believe that developed countries need to compensate developing countries on capacity building, technology transfer. How do we transition into a more sustainable city or greener energy context when we have to feed our people? This is a very similar argument that we have had in the UN, and the Paris Agreement was the actual solution, 100 billion from the developed countries to the developing countries, but we haven't seen the money yet until now. For me personally, in the job scope that I've done, even in plastics, I will never blame the consumers. We do not have a choice to consume the plastics or what type of plastic that we buy. If we buy a Twisties, can we choose if we want HDPE or PP or something? Do we get a choice to choose to buy product which doesn't have additives? So it's an upstream cycle. It's an upstream problem that manufacturers have to be responsible as well. They need to be accountable in terms of what sort of plastic that they manufacture. And I'm going to go into plastics now. But when I was working with the waste pickers in Malaysia, right, they were telling me how they segregate their plastic. So for the food boxes, the plastic containers, they will take a lighter. You can try it later safely. Take a lighter, burn your plastic packaging. If the residue is white, means there's no additive. If the residue is black, means there's additive. And if it's black, they will toss it to the bin. If it's white, they'll bring it to the recycling centers. And plastics should be labeled, but enforcement-wise, it's weak. And do we blame the people for that? We have to consume plastic that we can't even choose? No. And the reason why I always target corporates in a selective way, not all, I know a lot of good ones too, is because consumers like us do not have a choice to consume the plastics that we get. You are promoting your food. And we're buying your things. But yet, we have to recycle. They pay so much on advertisement, they pay so much on media, PR. But accountability-wise, it's not the same. And this is just in a plastics context. If you look in another context, obviously there are other issues like, education, equality, poverty. But there's also this term, climate refugees, climate poverty. What happened in Taman Sri Muda in 2021? What happened in Baling? People had to leave. People were losing houses overnight. But climate change is still a rich people problem. No! Climate change is completely not an elitist issue. It affects the poorest and the marginalized community the most. The rich can migrate to London whenever they want. So, for this sort of issue, I would never blame the consumers and general public. Yes, everyone has a role to play, but the scale of accountability, the scale of responsibility is definitely different. And if you look into these contexts, right, the people that are recycling the most are waste pickers. They're not the ones that are rich. The rich people are buying bottles and putting in their office for meetings. Every time I go to a sustainability roundtable discussion, not yesterday one, but like the ones previously, all plastic bottles. And then they ask us, what can we do? I'm like, hello, first. But for the role that everyone has a part to play, it's based on accumulated experiences. For someone, let's say for that student who has no time at all, I wouldn't even try to put any responsibility at all on her. It's okay, let's hear from the corporate.
I agree with what AB said.
Okay, for anyone who are marginalized with any, educational opportunities or career path development opportunities, I think first of all, my advice to youngsters, you have to build up your academic foundation, even though you are deprived of these kind of opportunities. And what I know of in Malaysia, there's one particular university. They are truly social driven. They are offer very affordable fees, and anyone have a chance to study in this university. And this is not a physical university, and I'm not an agent of this university as well. And this university called Wawasan Open University. Okay? So they offer very affordable fees. Yeah, and under this framework, you can access to education. And because it's a distant learning education, build your education excellence, that's very important. And secondly, as I highlighted just now, for anyone, you must be, optimistic. Optimistic is a solution. Look for your expensive man. Very, very important. Yeah, okay? If you do not have one, I can be your expensive man. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, speakers. One last question from the floor.
I'd just like to apologize to everyone for eating into your lunchtime.
It's okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Tun Siang. I'm currently a master's in Mediacom student in Nottingham, Malaysia. I did my undergrad in UCSI as well. Yeah, so I kind of know this, you'll be aware of that. And also, full disclosure that I volunteered for Abby's campaign during the state elections. And one thing I found out about Bandar Utama, the state constituency, not just be proper, is that 60.6% is over 41%. So that's like Gen X and above. Yeah. And this is the issue just now. Abby was talking about how the older generation doesn't really understand about these climate issues. And on this, for this corporate standpoint, because most of them are higher ups as well. And also, we know that our major companies here, like Nestle Petronas, they have this pressure to be green, and they make a lot of effort. But also thinking about the higher ups of smaller companies, SMEs, all that. How do we, as a youth in the companies, like encourage to the higher ups to how do we foster this dialogue to encourage the businesses to go green, because we have this like generation gap disconnect. Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Pam. Yeah.
I shared in my presentation that the biggest challenge in ESG Malaysia, or corporates, if you will, is the lack of knowledge, the lack of talent and all that. But if you are in the corporation, actually, nowadays, they do hear, I mean, I'm talking about my bosses at work, my previous bosses and all, they do acknowledge and they do try to hear from the youth because of the great resignation. People don't just stay with the company nowadays. The youth today, those who are working among all of you, know that the companies have lack of talent. So if you have something to voice out, there will be certain channels. But if you feel that this management wouldn't change one, they don't believe in what you said, you have choices as well. You've got other choices, and you can choose to join another organization that fits your purpose. I would say that I don't want to bring up generation gap and all that, but they are all ears. The moment you talk to them about the money, money talk, hydrogen, just bring up the topic. Boss, I want to talk to you about hydrogen and the transition roadmap. They will want to hear what you have to say. So the door is open already. The moment you talk about the transition, use the word transition. And this Dato' Leong shared so many topics that you can bring to management. So many topics, because when they hear about money, I'm sure their ears perk up.
Okay, I think the key word is to convince all the old-timer, especially, older generation, MSME, to go green, is to bring them and create awareness of the immediate green supply chain opportunities. Yeah, because SMEs are actually vendors and suppliers to the bigger corporations, be in the governments or multinational corporations or even GLCs. And under the green supply chain framework, the supplier have to be comply with the various certification, and this is the first step to motivate them to go green. Yeah. Once they are integrated with the green supply chain opportunity, subsequently they can become a green millionaire. It's just a matter of time. This is a very important message. You have to talk to the old timer. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Leong.
Yeah, thanks so much for answering my question. Yeah.
Thank you. Darren, you have a question? One last one, Darren. Thank you.
Okay. So sorry, I know that last question was already mentioned, but I felt it was pertinent for this question to be asked. So first of all, I disagree with the fact that we have to be polite about, talking about climate change, because you cannot be polite when the world is on fire. Because we've tried being polite since the 70s, and the world is still on fire, so nothing is being done. So therefore, I am on the side of the activists. But that being said, I agree with you on holding corporations accountable, right? So in the case where the Guardian has put out that the richest 10% produce half of greenhouse gas emissions, and 20 firms, the richest 10% produce about half of greenhouse gas emissions, and 20 firms are behind a third of all carbon emissions. So how do we hold capital responsible for the current crisis that we are facing? Thank you.
Abby?
Okay, great question. Okay, when I say polite, right, don't use bad words lah, that's it lah. But always foster conversation. Don't shut people down. Like, you want to understand all sides of, their problems as well, right? So you can be stern, you can be strong, but don't burn the bridge, because it's always important to hear all sides. Okay, anyways, let's get into how do we keep them accountable? First of all, if there are any bankers here, so what we did in Europe was we came up with a list of polluting companies, and collectively, as organizations, activists, we told the banks to not fund them. By them not having a stream of loans or money because they're polluting, it forces them to make their changes. So that's one of the things that we're doing abroad. But coming back to Malaysia, that's something we can implement as well. We can start talking. But I'm not sure about the bank frameworks here. But this is something that, I don't know, here.
Okay, I've been with the bank about 38 years, and at CIMB we have been implementing our sustainability agenda since I think 2019, that time, whereby we are the only bank who are signatory for the United Nations ESG. What we do is that we have implement, for example, like we have buying board level, top to down, whereby we implement a sustainability unit inside the bank itself, whereby we create a policy whereby, you know, each of the corporate who wanted to get our financings, they must comply with sustainability agenda. And we keep track of their, you know, for example, if they're taking about 5 years, you know, every year we will evaluate them. If they are moving towards to the something like destroy the environment, we will stop their, you know, penalize them in terms of that. So this is the things have been moving towards to the banking sector side. And at the moment, I think at Negara level, they come up with the policies, right? So this is the things that I think the bank will follow soon, because actually it must be coming from regulatory side. Then everything will follow up. Recent one, what I heard that European side have implemented, whereby you need to make sure that capital that you invest, right, must have the sustainability agenda also. So it's very strict now towards to the agenda. At youth level, you have to voice out to make sure that the SME level and educate them. Because if they don't educate, then they won't understand. They will move towards to whatever that we wanted to do. So this is my thoughts on that. Thank you.
So put your money in CIMB.
Thank you so much, Dato, for the explanation.
So why I say that was there was this huge radical movement where they found out that Barclays was funding Rosebank, this oil rig. So in the UK collectively, they took all their money out from Barclays and put it in HSBC, another account. So this is a very radical approach that I'm not sure Malaysians would do. Which is not, this is not me giving you a solution, this is just me sharing, okay? But yeah, we have a lot of frameworks here. And on the whole, how the top few companies are polluting the rest. For example, we know Petronas is doing a lot of good things. And even when I'm on international negotiations and they were saying that, Abby, you need to put in phase out fossil fuel. And I'm like, I'm not gonna put phase out fossil fuel. What's the solution for us? Petronas is the rice bowl of my country. What is the solution that you're going to help with? Capacity building, technology transfer, Paris Agreement. So this is the job of some mighty or some people here that pushes on things like, when are we going to have our capacity building, technology transfer to transition our country into a more sustainable country, right? Speaking, sometimes talking about this, yeah. No, I'm still very optimistic because everyone here is talking about the same. I mean, we're talking the same language, multi-generational as well, and we're not finger pointing. We're just stating out the obvious. But I also want to point out one thing, that we're in Malaysia, because we're a fossil fuel dependent country, that doesn't mean that we can just like wipe things off. We have the highest subsidies on fossil fuels. If we could just lower down the subsidies, not to say scrap it, we could have funded a lot of better projects. I mean, I say this softly because it's a sensitive topic that we need to subsidize our fossil fuel. But a lot of countries around the world are asking to cut out fossil fuel subsidies at like in total.
Thank you, Abby. Any top up from Ms. Pam? All right. Yep. Thank you, participants. With this, we end our Q&A session. Let's give a big round of applause to our speakers. All right. Thank you. With this, I invite our speakers back to their seats. Thank you so much. I'll pass the floor back to our MC. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Winston, and thank you to our distinguished speakers. Next, we will continue with our certificate giving ceremony. We invite Mr. Oi Zahau to come forward to present the certificates to our distinguished speakers. We would like to begin by inviting our first speaker, Miss Pam Lee, to receive her certificate. Next, we welcome Datuk Leong Kin Moon. And finally, we have Miss A.B. Lim. Ladies and gentlemen, with the conclusion of our enlightening and dynamic first town hall session, it is time to refuel our minds and bodies. We invite all of our honorary guests, partners, and participants to join us for a lunch break. Kindly proceed to the terrace area for lunch, and a quick reminder to all participants to please return back to the hall before 1:15 p.m. for the next session, which is the budget town hall session. I repeat, please return back to the hall before 1:15 p.m. for the next session, which is the budget town hall session. Thank you and have a nice lunch.